So let's take an example of building credit scoring for your customers, where you want to use data points from your own data sources, from your third-party providers like government bodies or credit bureaus or KYCs, and then you want to build a rule, calculate a credit scoring for your users, and might also have some mathematical complex formulas to bake in, right, to actually calculate the final score or even an EMI or a loan, right, whatever that you want to do. So to start with, you have to sign on Nected.ai, go on to the rules, create that rule. There are different type of rules that Nected support. For most of this credit scoring or loan origination kind of a rule, decision table is the best way, because in that you can have different conditions or combo and then set a different result for each. So at Nected, whenever you create any rule, it's automatically exposed over this API with this payload that you have to pass. And I'll tell you in a bit like how you can define this payload. So to define a payload, you have to just first go into added input attributes. Now there are three ways to define input attributes. You can define as a direct attribute, which you want to send as an API. You can map it with your database, so all the attributes mapped to that attribute will be automatically fetched from your database, which I'll show you afterward. And also you can stitch any third-party API if you want to take or get those in dynamic attributes from outside. I'll start with the basic one and then I'll go one by one. So let's say if I have to define a basic direct input attribute, I'll just click on AN, give it a name, which I will send it an API. Select the data type. We are supporting all kind of data type. So suppose a number, and then maybe fill a test value for the later references. And I can also set if it is optional, not optional, can be null, if you want to have those validations in your rule. So I'll just delete it. But so this is where I have already filled in. So I have age, employee type, taxable income, location, and I'll build a rule over it. So I'll just save and close. Now this is where a rule no code editor comes. So what I've done is all the input attributes are available here. You can just click on age and then you can select an operator based on the data type. So in this case, I can say age is any, but I want to do an employment type as equals salaried. So, and same location is being metro or not. So I have built this kind of thing. You can add any more attributes on the fly or change any existing attributes based on the data set that you'll have, right? So I can change it age to any. And then I'll set a result, and result can also be boolean, number, string, any data type. So suppose if I want to set up a score or even an EMI along with the score, I can just call out as an EMI monthly, right? And can set up a value here, right? And then I can set up any kind of a result. Once this is done, so now I'll go into test and staging. This is all the number input attributes that are coming from my that. I'll just test now. And this will be the result that is coming now, right? So because it was self-employed, taxable income was this, score 5, but say if I move it to salaried and I'll test it again, so the score is 10. And we are built for a mission critical and customer facing flow, and that's how you'll see the response here. So this is the final response that is coming as a score. You will close it. So now you can just publish it over API to make it live in the production over this API. So this is as simple as that. Okay. So now to go one level up, suppose you want to actually fetch your data from your database and use it in a rule directly rather than you sending it along API, right? So in that case, what you'll have to first do is you'll have to go to integrations. Nected comes with a pre-built integration of multiple database, and we are coming with more and more based on our customer requirements. We also have API integrations, as you can see here, and some no code connectors. So suppose if I have a MongoDB where I have things stored, so all you have to do is click on this MongoDB, add some configurations around your MongoDB database, and all the password will be encrypted, as well as you can also whitelist IP so that no one else can be able to call your database. So for this demo purpose, I have already created test MongoDB. I have filled in a basic credential. I'll test that connection and I'll publish in staging. In my case, the connector is already published, so that's where it's not needed again. Once I have done, so what happens is you have integrated with the database, but you will have a lot of data being sitting in your Mongo, which you don't want to use all for the rule. So in this case, we have given a data source layer where you can just connect with the integration that you have created. It will open a query builder in a low code that can be set up at one time to write some custom query and unify your data as you want to use in a role. So in this case, as I have already created a demo source, what I'm doing this, I have just sample DB. I have created a basic query where I'll find everything that exists here. I'll test the query. It will run on this and will fetch me all the records as needed. The attributes now, which will be directly available to your rule engine, and I'll show you in a bit. And you don't have to send it all in your API now. I'll go ahead, publish it. You don't need to publish it if you are testing it, but once you are going live, you'll have to publish it. Now going back to the rule, so I'll go back to my rule that I was building it, which is credit scoring. I'll again go back to my input attributes. Now I'll add a field like a primary identifier that using which I want to fetch all the data. Suppose it's a customer ID. So using this customer ID, I want to send all the other respective data that was present in my data source. It's gonna be string or ID, like based on your configurations. I click on save and next, and this is where now I can map it with data source. So this is the data set that I've created. So I'll just choose the data source Mongo, which I guess I'll add it here. I'll choose the customer ID because this is the ID I want to map, and this is the underscore ID, which is a respective counter key. So I'll click on add. I'll choose the customer ID which I have to map, and these are all the keys that are listed from data set. So I'll just choose ID, which is what is the mapping that I want to do. Now whenever I'll pass a customer ID, it will map with underscore ID and will fetch all the other data automatically. I'll click on save and close. Now what you're gonna see is these are the input attributes that I have mentioned, but now you'll also see another data source where all the data attributes are being listed here, and you can actually use it in a no-code directly. So I can just add on a logic. I'll click on this. I'll go with, say, if I have to, based on the fee or based on the price or based on something I want to do, I can just click on it. It will be an operator again as a number or string, whatever it is, and I can just create more rules directly over my DB. This way, I can quickly use my data sets. The process is again same. We'll go into test and staging. We'll test it out. Again, now this is a customer ID. You can change it and you'll see the score being changed, and then publish it again. This will be exposed via this API as I have mentioned earlier. Now in this case, you are not sending any dataset attributes. You're just sending a primary key that you want, using which you want Nected to fetch all the other data, and that's it. There are still more things. So let's jump on other thing now. But now what if you want to use something from third party? Like say from a credit bureau, you want to fetch a credit scoring, or you want to fetch the person taxable income or income details, right? Which is not present in you, but it's something with your partners. So in that case, again, what you'll have to first do is go to integrations, configure your REST APIs of your third parties, come back to the rule, open this rule, go to edit window. Now you can go fetch from API. You'll add an input attribute. Suppose if I want an income details, I have created a mock API here, so I'll just use that. So this will open my integration that I've set. I have to just fill in with this. It's all tokenized that I can use token. I'll pass on hard code this. I'll have a get. I'll fetch my input. Now these all data which is being fetched from the API will now also be available in a rule as a no code, and I'll show you in a bit. So I'll just save and close, and I'll also again save and close. Now I'll go and add condition. So now apart from in input attributes, you'll also see this income detail, but all the attributes that are being fetched from API as a JSON, but in a flattened way. So you can now access, let's say, taxable income last year. I can have a mapping here in terms of equals or between, and I can just have, like, say, 10 lakh. And this way I can now enhance or enrich my rule again. Again, the process is same. We'll have to go test it out. Now this is income detail that is being fetched by API. We'll test it out. This is the response that will come based on the conditions that I have built. I'll close it and then I will publish it. So this is where it's published. If you go back into API, you'll see you are just still passing all the direct attributes that you want to pass with the customer ID as a reference to database and nothing around the API part, because that is automatically being fetched by API once you call the rule. What we have done is we have created a rule which is exposed to our API, can fetch data from your databases or from your third-party APIs, can run it, return a response back to you. But now you also want to do something after the rule is executed. You may want to update your DB back, or you may want to update your third parties or trigger any kind of a flow. So this is where add action can come handy. It will show you all the integration that you can use to actually do. You'll have database integration, so you can update your databases, or you can call up any of an API. Suppose you want to update it in your another database, which is in Postgres or anything. So you'll just open it. So this will open another query layer for you, and you can actually write any update query or insert query here with all tokenized. So you'll have all the tokens available in you, and that's a custom input, dataset dot. So all your tokens will be available here, and you can write a tokenized SQL query to update it back in your DB. If you don't want to update in your DB directly, so you can probably use an API connectors. So wherein you can just choose the API connectors. You can select the method, say post, content type being JSON, and now you can actually pass on the JSON in here as a T. And this again will be customized, so you can use any kind of a ID and can write any kind of say score, additional score. So this way you can pass any kind of a JSON to your third party and trigger that flow here itself. You don't have to go to anywhere else outside the platform. Hope you're with me so far. Those who are still with me, this is where you can do any kind of a rule or workflow automation or Nected very easily. You can set it up in less than 30 minutes. Can be iterated by a non-tech person in few minutes. So this way you can actually free your tech teams from repetitive work, while enabling or empowering non-tech teams to launch their ideas faster, experiment more, and iterate quickly. One last thing before we go. So as we said, we are low code, no code. So whatever you have seen so far is definitely a mix of it. But now what happens is, there are a lot of times then business have some mathematical formulas or some very complex specific logics that they want to adapt to. At Nected, our motto was like anything and everything is possible through this platform, so that developers don't have to go anywhere else, right? So what we have also given as a basic formula editor, where you can just be it in a condition. So even if you want to have any complex condition, you can use this custom formula, and this is all tokenized. So you can actually use any kind of a tokens here in terms of custom input, and you can build any kind of a complex mathematics or conditions. This way you can have any kind of a formula, can write a condition over it and just save it out. So, and this will run for you. If the conditions are good, but you want more complex result in terms of saying my calculator or something, again you can open a formula in the result section. You can use the output data score, and then you can maybe multiply by the income, taxable income, suppose, right? So taxable income, right? So this is where you can, and you can have any kind of a mathematical formula to calculate it. So this is where you can actually write a mathematical formula, and this is the result that can be set for it. So now I'll go into test and staging. It has opened now. These are the things. I'll test it now. And if you see, now I have two things, EMI monthly and scores. This is being coming from formula. This is coming from my direct constant attributes. Thanks for your time so far, and I hope you have seen how Nected can be leveraged for your highly evolving and dynamic backend flows using our fundamental blocks like rule engine, workflow automations, and all. If you want more details, or if you want any help from us understanding how to build your use case over Nected, I'm happy to talk to you. You can reach me at prabhat@nected.ai or can contact my team at assist@nected.ai, and we'll be definitely happy to serve you and make your impact faster in the least cost and effort. Thanks everyone. Thanks for your time.